part is
Ketwolski.
Hey everybody, Ketwolski here, checking in with another one of our hashtag Earl Grey Pour Up videos. Today, of course, we are going to be talking about the San Diego Comic-Con 2020 Star Trek Universe panel. It has come and gone, and it was kind of interesting, to say the least. There was an initial issue for a lot of people, including myself. The video itself went live on the San Diego Comic-Con YouTube channel, and then it got blocked by Content ID, which was very strange, I thought. Quickly, Star Trek did correct that issue, but it was about 15 minutes into the presentation before people were able to actually start to get in. I know some people were able to get in kind of initially without any issues, but I arrived maybe a few minutes late, and by that time, the Content ID claim had already been, I guess, solidified, and it didn't allow me to enter in at all, and then a lot of people had the same issue. So thankfully, they did correct that, and I was able to actually watch the entire presentation, which a lot of other people did as well, and we got some little bits of information. Most of it was kind of standard for these type of, distance Comic Cons that they're having right now, but I'll get into my more general feedback overall for the entire presentation at the end of this video. Up front, we did get two giant bits of information. The first one, of course, is that the Nickelodeon animated show, the one that's geared towards a much younger audience, they finally confirmed that that show is entitled Star Trek Prodigy. We did get a look at the logo, kind of like just a quick little flash that they put together in GIF format. We don't really have much of anything else. From my understanding, there was some images floating around on the internet that I have kind of seen a little bit of, here and there, of some sketch arts from that series, but I don't know even if those were still accurate anymore or if they were kind of old or maybe they are current, whatever it is. There are some things kind of floating around online, but that's definitely a brand new logo. I have never seen that logo before, so great to hear that this was finally confirmed. We didn't really get any information too much on it. We do know that it's kind of slated for a 2021 premiere, but beyond that, we don't really have too much to kind of go on. The other really big bit of information was the fact that Alex Kurtzman did confirm that 10 stories were broken for Strange New Worlds. Now, that doesn't mean 10 scripts have been completed, but 10 stories have been broken. So this does kind of connect a little bit to the information I released a couple of weeks ago, maybe a month ago now, where a lot of the pre-production and set design stuff was being done by the production team that we saw through like different postings on, I think like Instagram and like LinkedIn and things like that. We kind of cracked that story here, and then the show was officially announced, I think, a couple of days later. So we do know that there's clearly some idea of where a lot of these specific stories and maybe the overarching, plot lines of these different things are going to be going on, but maybe they haven't gotten the actual dialogue and everything specifically written out yet. So the stories themselves have been broken, so clearly that means they have a good idea as to what they're going to be doing with these characters. The other really big thing that we did get was a sneak preview of the first episode of Lower Decks. Now, obviously, I'm not going to show the footage here. I do have a link down in the description for the entire, panel that was released over on the San Diego Comic-Con channel, so go check it out. You can definitely watch that video there, and I'm sure Star Trek YouTube is probably going to upload that clip at some point as well. But essentially, it was more of an extended look at the captain's log that Boromir, I don't know how to say anybody's names yet, but that he was kind of doing at the in the initial teaser trailer that we got just a couple of weeks ago. So it looked like a bit of an extended look there, and then not really too much. We got a kind of a glimpse as to how some of the comedy and some of the physical comedy I think is going to play out for the series. We didn't really get too much information beyond that. We did get through a whole panel with all of the crew and some of the, the cast, the crew of the ship, but the cast and some of the crew of the show itself. They were available for some on-site questions. Mike McMahon did talk about how he is kind of really, again, trying to connect this back to a TNG-style era. Events take place directly after Nemesis, but long before the events of Star Trek Picard. And that's really about it. We didn't really get much information beyond that for the entirety of Star Trek universe. So other than that, the things that we did not really get was really any general bit of information for Star Trek Discovery Season 3. Again, there was more reassurance that not only is it coming, but they're still hoping that it's going to be coming this year. No real big word on any kind of date change from what I could see. I didn't really hear anything that was specific, but maybe somebody else heard something different, but I haven't heard anything. It's still supposed to be coming this year. earlier. I'm still kind of theorizing in my head that it's going to be around October-ish. We also did not get any official announcement regarding Star Trek Discovery Season 4. I know I talked about that in a video just a couple of days ago. They did not confirm or even discuss any of that for this particular San Diego Comic-Con focus group. I don't know if maybe they were just thought that the information may not be good for this right now. Maybe it's all bogus. I don't know. But we did not get any kind of confirmation or even acknowledgement that that was even something that was being considered via this little video that they've released for this panel. The other thing that we did get to see was a real long discussion panel between all of the people from the Star Trek Picard first season, which was probably the most organic of all of them, which I thought was kind of interesting. I don't know if that has something to do with Patrick Stewart being there or what, but that one felt like the most organic in terms of people kind of having banter back and forth and talking. It seemed like we were just kind of peeking in on like a large family's reunion Zoom call in a lot of ways. And I don't necessarily mean that in a negative way. It was definitely a little bit more fluid than some of the other ones where some of the crews and cast members, I think, aren't as connected as necessarily the Picard cast is, which I think is good. I think that's interesting to kind of note. So speaking of at-home Comic-Con panels, the Star Trek Universe one, I would give it just an okay rating. Honestly, it wasn't the worst thing in the world. I have seen some really horrific ones. It wasn't as great either as a in-person Hall H presentation. I personally feel as though they were struggling a little bit to kind of adapt to this new environment. This is the first time that this has ever really happened where somebody's having to put the entire panel, all of the different shows, into one long video and kind of present it online in a YouTube video style with everybody in different locations. So it's not just that we're not able to be there, it's that none of the actors or cast members or crew are in the same physical location either. You have to do a lot of coordination, and I'm sure it was a monumental effort to get all of these people kind of put together in order to make this thing actually something that was enjoyable for what it was. I think that they just struggled with that because it's a new process. I think anyone who's crapping on it too much needs to remember that this is a brand new thing that not everybody is fully aware of. I think they did the best they could. I think if it was in a person kind of Hall H style thing, we would have probably been a little bit more entertained, but I think it's just because of the energy of the crowd allows for a different kind of interaction with the people that are up on the panels, whereas this one, it was just a Zoom call of all of these different people that know each other very well, that are just kind of talking back and forth with each other about different things that are going on. So it is a bit of a tough nut to crack. Again, this was not the worst thing in the world. I have seen some pretty bad Comic-Con, like at-home Comic-Con things that just fell really flat. This one did the best that they could, and honestly, it was well produced, it was well edited. We had some great sound from the majority of the people there. There wasn't too much over-talking with each other, even with the panels. I thought it went really well. I thought the table read, it may not be for everybody, but it worked very well. It worked just fine. They edited it very well done in order to kind of, I think, cut out a lot of the over-talking or the breaks and the uhs and the kind of different story bits there to kind of keep it as condensed as possible. I think they did pretty good overall. It was just good. It was good for what it needed to be, which was to remind people that Star Trek is still happening. There's a lot of stuff going on. There's still a lot of shows coming out, and these characters and these cast members are still working together to try to bring us content in the future. All right, guys and gals, that does wrap up for my quick little San Diego Comic-Con coverage. Overall, like I said, not too bad. I thought it was pretty good. I am curious, of course, to hear what you guys and gals think about what we saw. What did you think about that lower decks footage? Did you enjoy the extended look, or did it make you hate it even more? I'm just curious. And are you excited to finally get a look at the Star Trek Prodigy logo and get final confirmation of that? I know I certainly am, because we've been like talking about that for, I don't know, it feels like a year now that we've been talking about that the show was called Star Trek Prodigy, and they finally admitted to it. Are you excited about that? Did you like that logo? I thought it looked pretty cool, but I am, of course, curious to hear what you guys think about that. And were you disappointed or enjoyed the overall Comic-Con panel? What did you think about it? Get your thoughts up down below, and we'll go ahead and get the conversation started. Live long and prosper, my Trekkies!